Summer knitting sounds great in theory, but then it's 30 degrees outside, your sweater project feels like a weighted blanket, and suddenly you don't feel like knitting anymore. So today I want to share some summer knitting patterns, but instead of organizing them by garment type, I've organized them around different summer knitting moods and the projects I choose for each one. So let's dive right in. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. Whether you're struggling with motivation, looking for lighter projects, or still craving that cozy knitting feeling in July, I have a few ideas for you. This year I actually tried to account for all of these potential summer mood swings when I put my summer knitting plans together. Whether it works remains to be seen. But for today's video, I've divided these patterns into 5 different groups based on different summer knitting moods and problems, so hopefully you'll find at least one category that sounds like you. And first up is for the people who completely lose their knitting motivation in summer. Every summer I have these moments where I look at my knitting bag and suddenly nothing sounds exciting. It's hot, I don't feel like concentrating too much, and even the projects I was really excited about a few months ago lose their charm. So these are the patterns I would personally reach for when I want something engaging enough to keep me interested, but relaxing enough that knitting still feels fun. And the first pattern I want to share with you today is the Cornflake top by Veronika Lindberg. This feels like the perfect combination of engaging and straightforward to keep us entertained from the first stitch all the way to wind off. The top is worked in seed stitch, which by itself is pretty easy to knit and easy to fix if something goes wrong. And we all know sometimes that is very important. There are a couple of lace details that are also very approachable, and the finishing touch is the crochet scallop edges that give this top a subtle vintage flair but not old. It is worked at a worsted weight gauge in a cotton blend yarn with a simple construction that doesn't feel intimidating. And Veronika usually includes video tutorials with her designs, which makes this feel like a very approachable project. I would say this is the perfect project to pick up after work when it's hot, because it's cute enough to keep me interested, and I would definitely choose a fun color to add life to my summer wardrobe. I think this would make the cutest outfit paired with some gingham pants to go on an ice cream ride, and I can already see the entire picture in my head. But if you want something with a slightly more polished look, this next one might be right up your alley. The Amy top by Mochiknits. And maybe I'm being influenced by my recently finished Petro Polo by Petite Knit. Although I've had my eyes on this Amy top for over a year now, so I guess it's okay to share with you guys today. This is such a lovely option for a more elegant knit without having to compromise on wearability, because it is bra friendly, which I find very important, and it has this cute color situation that gives this project a more elevated look while still being very approachable. The pattern includes photos and video tutorials because it uses a few different techniques to get this really crisp finish, but nothing about it seems overwhelming. The body is plain stockinette, the edges are simple ribbing, and there's just a little bit of double knitting for the buttonless button bands. So if you like to try something new without making your project feel like homework, I think this is a really nice option. But maybe you're not looking for details and techniques at all. Maybe you just want a classic summer tee that you reach for over and over again. So here comes the Sunshine Tee by Andrea Garn. This feels like something I would 100% live in from day one of summer. The shape is just like a classic t-shirt we all have. It's comfy, it's easy to style, and it goes with everything. It features satin sleeves and optional bust darts to improve the fit. And if you add stripes, we get that potato chippy paste that makes this whole thing fly off the needles. Stripes just make everything more fun. I'm a huge fan of stripes. I would knit this in a lightweight summer blend yarn to maximize wearability in the summer months, possibly go outside my comfort zone when picking a color, and have a lot of fun with this project. I recently finished a tee very similar looking to this one, the Sea Salt Tee by Atelier Castin, and although it was plain stockinette from start to finish, I loved the simplicity of that project. I never got bored, I've been wearing it constantly, and the fabric was so light and breezy that I almost forgot I had something on my lap while knitting the body. So that says a lot in my book, and I highly recommend this type of project if you want something simple, comfortable, and endlessly wearable. Now maybe motivation isn't the problem at all. Maybe you're perfectly happy to knit, but the idea of having half a sweater sitting on your lap in July sounds miserable. So these are the projects I would choose when I still want that satisfying feeling of making something, but without all the extra fabric weighing me down. So I want to share with you the Woolly Cacti One Pattern Free Looks, and I hope I pronounced that right, by Lucille Randall. This looks like such a fun project. It's a free pattern that includes instructions for 3 different cacti, and I love the idea of adding a tiny vase to really make it look like the real thing. It's a very quick project, perfect for home decor, adding a homemade touch to our craft space, or even gifting. And chances are we could make this entirely from leftovers. Because it is such a small and portable project, there's literally nothing sitting on your lap making us run hot, and I feel like one of these little guys could probably be finished in one afternoon or one road trip. And I think summer is the perfect time to remember that not every project has to be wearable. I'm just waiting to have leftovers in the colors I want before I cast this on. If you still want something wearable though, but without holding a mountain of fabric on your lap, I think this next one is adorable. The Cleo skirt by Sandnes Garn. This project isn't quite as quick as the cacti, but it looks too stinking cute not to mention. It is a short skirt worked in stockinette stitch with thin stripes for a bit of visual interest, although I think it would look beautiful in a single color as well. It is worked at a worsted weight gauge, and the recommended yarn is Sandnes Garn Lin, which from my experience with thin linen should make a lovely cool fabric for the warmer months. Knitting this project feels like a walk in the park. There are these subtle vertical lines running through the body that add just enough detail to make things interesting, and modifying the length should be really straightforward. And I have to say, the matching sweater has been living rent-free in my head. I want this look so bad. And depending on the colors we choose, it's easy to pair with the rest of our wardrobe. And speaking of small, portable projects, I have one more option in this category, and this one almost made me want to become a sock knitter. The Stash Buster Socks by KatiSulo. I hope I pronounced the name right. This is a sock pattern with an anatomical heel that comes with a few different options for customization, like the length and whether you want plain stockinette or a bit of texture. But the part that immediately caught my attention was the sporty folded cuff. I'm not much of a sock knitter, but even I want to cast on a pair now, which says a lot. I love this heel tab on my store-bought socks, so having one handmade would be really nice. The designer also offers the heel tab as a separate free pattern, so maybe we can even adapt this idea to our favorite sock recipes. If you want an easy road trip project that you can cast on, knit all the way through, and even try on in the car, I think this would be a really fun one. Now, on the other hand, maybe summer knitting isn't really about speed or portability. Maybe you just want pieces that are easy to style, comfortable to wear, and that fit naturally into your wardrobe. And these are the patterns that caught my eye for exactly that reason. The first one is the Nuance tee by Piro. This feels like the perfect elevated everyday tee that we can dress up or down depending on the occasion. It's beginner friendly with a simple circular yoke and minimal shaping. I'm not usually one to go for circular yokes, but for a piece like this, I think I would happily make an exception. We can choose between this gorgeous mesh yoke or a regular stockinette version, and one of the recommended yarns is Drops Bell, which I've been using for the first time lately and really enjoying. I think it makes a lovely fabric for warmer weather. And even with the mesh yoke, from the pattern photos and project pages, it still looks bra friendly. I'm no impartial, but I absolutely love that orangey red sample. I just love this shade. And if you prefer your basics with a little more detail, I have to mention this next one because I've actually made it myself. The Uptown Tee by Tori Yu. I needed this one a couple of summers ago and I loved it so much that I had to include in today's lineup. It is a raglan construction featuring these cute lace cap sleeves and I-cord finishing. The lace motif is very easy to knit and the result is this simple but not boring tee that's really easy to wear. At least my version is completely bra friendly and I remember it being a quick and very enjoyable knit. Now, I don't know what I was thinking when I picked the yarn for mine. I used a color changing yarn and managed to hide most of the lace details, so it looks a bit busy. If I were making another one, which I absolutely would by the way, I think I would go for a tonal yarn instead. And if it weren't for my poor yarn choice, I would wear this tee on a regular basis. Now, what I love about this pattern is that almost immediately after the color, we are rewarded with the lace sleeves, and then by the time the dopamine starts to run low, the fun part is done and it's just smooth stockinette all the way to the finish line, and I really enjoy that. But if you want something a little more polished and office friendly, I think this next one is gorgeous. The Ravenna Sleeveless by Michele Frazzetta. I'm so sorry. I love this one. This is a sleeveless top with an all-over point-out texture and we can choose between a button-down version or a tank top version knit in the round. Personally, I prefer the button-down version. I've been going through a major button love phase lately and I think they make this piece look a bit more polished, a bit more dressed up and office friendly. Another thing I appreciate is that this texture feels like just the right amount to keep things interesting without dragging on forever. Once you get the hang of it, I don't think we'd need to stare at the chart constantly, so that is good. And I think this would look beautiful in pretty much any color. Now, I know summer knitting usually means tanks and tees, but sometimes all I want is that cozy feeling I get from knitting the rest of the year. Something textured, comforting, and just interesting enough to curl up with on a rainy day. So here comes the Perrin by Amy Christophers. This next tee feels like the perfect mix of simple and interesting with stripes of lace alternating with stockinette. It's a free pattern and the recommended yarn is Berocco Pima Soft, which is a DK weight cotton yarn. What I really like about this design is that it feels textured and cozy without feeling heavy or over the top. Depending on the color we choose, I think it could make a lovely swimsuit cover up, but I also see myself pairing it with loose pants and wearing it every day. It would also look nice paired with a thin jacket to play with texture and different materials. And because of all of that lace, it still feels lightweight enough for summer while giving us that cozy feeling that sometimes I still crave even when it's hot outside. And speaking of cozy, I came across this next pattern only a few days ago and instantly fell in love with it. The Shoreline top by Cherry Mokhtar. This one has such a relaxed, beachy vibe. It's a simple V-neck top, and what really makes it stand out is the yarn. The designer used cotton waves by Garn, which creates this beautiful texture that I haven't really seen before. It reminds me a little bit of boucle, but in a much more summer-friendly way. The shape itself is simple, which makes it easy to wear, and the buttons are really the cherry on top. The best part is that this texture comes from the yarn. So if you're someone who enjoys mindless stockinette knitting but still wants a project with a lot of personality, I think this is a fantastic option. I would probably knit mine in that off-white beige color from the sample and then have fun pairing it with colorful pants, gingham fabrics, or even just jeans, but it could also act as a second layer on top of another piece. Now, not everybody turns into a tank top person in summer, so let's look at something a little cozier and circle away from all the garments once again. I want to share with you the Play by Amy Gill. I'm so sure I pronounced that name wrong. I'm so sorry. This is a recent release and it just looks so fun. It features these bold blocks of colors and unexpected combinations, all done in target knitting. We can use as many colors as our heart desires using DK weight yarn or fingering weight held double. It's not a classic summer project, but I think it's perfect for those odd chilly evenings and rainy days we all want something cozy to work on. It's substantial enough to feel comforting, but not so big that we end up with a blanket sitting on our lap. And I love the idea of finishing summer with a fresh new shawl ready to wear once fall rolls around. And if you are the kind of person who likes to cast on a project and just see where it leads you, this one looks like so much fun. And now I am excited to cast this on. Alright, we'll see if that happens. And finally, maybe you're craving something a little more exciting. Not necessarily complicated, but something with interesting construction, beautiful detail, or just enough novelty to keep things feeling special without becoming overwhelming. So I want to share with you the Perla top by Kadri. This is a halter style summer top with adjustable straps, which I think is such a clever detail because we've all had those moments where we wish our straps were just a little shorter or a little longer. It's simple to knit but so stylish to wear. And although it's not exactly bra friendly, depending on the occasion, that's not really a problem. I just love how sophisticated but effortless this looks, even in bright and colorful yarns. I've been eyeing this pattern ever since it came out, but somehow I always end up getting distracted by something else, so I never got around to actually casting it on. I think I should change that soon. Really soon, in fact. Personally, I would probably make mine in a dark color for summer evenings and nights out, although I think lighter shades would look beautiful during the day as well. Now, if what really keeps you interested is unusual construction, this next one has been living on my dream list for years. The Arju tank top by Claire Lakewood. The star here is definitely the construction. This top is worked flat, beginning at the lower back, and then stitches are divided at the neckline before being joined again at the front. After that, stitches are picked up along the sides here and worked inwards until everything meets in the middle and gets joined together with a free needle bind off. So if that doesn't sound interesting, I don't know what does. It sounds more complicated than it actually is, but I think that's the charm of this project. It's not just another top worked from the top down in stockinette. The texture itself stays very simple, which means all the fun comes from seeing this unusual shape come together. And if the front tie isn't really your thing, I wonder if it would be possible to modify it into a straight hem instead. From the photos, this looks incredibly lightweight and comfortable for summer. But if unusual construction isn't enough and you're looking for something with a little more texture, I have one final pattern to share. The Rolled Jumper by Irene Lin. This final pattern in today's lineup is a dropped shoulder pullover knit at a Aran weight gauge using a cotton blend yarn. The construction itself is pretty straightforward, but what makes this design really stand out is the texture. I feel like I've seen this sweater all over Instagram, and there's also a tank top version that looks beautiful. Because it is knit at an Aran weight gauge, I imagine this would be a fairly quick project, and I can see it working in so many different ways. We could throw it over flowy dresses and skirts, wear it on chilly summer evenings, or even use it as a swim cover up. I think that sounds really cute, in fact. Personally, I would probably choose just a neutral color because I think it would make it easier to pair with everything, but I think colorful versions look beautiful too. And I think that's exactly the kind of project that feels satisfying without becoming overwhelming. Now, I don't know about you, but I find myself floating through all these moods all summer long. I would love to know which category you relate to the most. Are you someone who loses motivation in heat? Do you avoid heavy projects at all costs? Or are you already planning your next ambitious knit? Let me know which pattern caught your eye, and if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe and give this video a like for more knitting content here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!